G'day, it's RJ here again from the ALiVE dev team, and today I just wanted to go through the civilian modules. So now I'll start adding the ALiVE modules. So start with the requires ALiVE module, and next we'll add the admin actions module. Okay, so next you need to place the civilian population module. That's in the ALiVE systems section. So this is a similar module to the profile system module. You can set spawn radiuses when you're on foot, when you're in a heli, or when you're in a plane. It's probably suggested that you don't spawn them while you're in a plane because that will cause a little bit of slowdown. And even the heli one is probably not really needed unless you really want to see civilians while you're flying in a helicopter. And also, as with the profile system, this module has an active limiter which will limit how many of the civilians can be spawned at any one time. And there's also these three hostility settings which are per side, so you can set how hostile the civilians are initially when you start the mission. So you can set that to low, medium, high or extreme. So I'm going to set them to be extremely hostile to blue 4. That's done. That doesn't need to sync to anything, it just sits by itself. You only need one of them on the map at any one time, which is the same as how the profile system module works. So next you need a civilian placement module, and these work in exactly the same way pretty much that the military or civilian placement modules work. That is, you can place one down and it will cover all the locations on the map that it finds, or you can use it with tail markers to specify what towns you want to be populated by civilians, or you can use multiple placement modules if you wanted to change, say, have different factions in different towns. So let's just place one down for now. You can find that in the ALiVE civilian section. You can see ambient civilian placement is the only option for now. So these are very similar to the military placement modules. You can see you've got a tail and a blacklist marker, so you can have markers that select spots which you want to be populated and spots which you don't want to be populated. You can specify what size of towns you want it to affect, so you can say only do huge towns or ignore some of the smaller ones. They can be handy on Altus because there's really a lot of settlements there, but for Stratus I'm just going to set it to do not filter. Objective priority, that doesn't really come into play actually with civilian settlements, so you can pretty much ignore that. So this one, the Force faction, this is the actual units which will be spawned. So if you wanted to have different civilians, you'd have to change the faction name in here. This is the placement level. This sets how many buildings will be populated. And just a thing to note, even if you set it to extreme, you're not going to get some of the bigger cities to be completely populated. It's just too performance hungry. Place ambient vehicles just places empty civilian vehicles around the towns. So you can set that to low, medium or high. I'll set it to high. And this is the ambient vehicle faction. I've separated this because some of the civilian factions like Massey's, African factions and so on don't really have vehicles, so you can set another faction which will draw the vehicle classes from. So in this case it'll just be CivF as well because it'll just use the default armor civilian vehicles. So that's fine, we can put that down. Oh, and I forgot to place the profile system module, so I'll put that down too. There we go. So to get the civilians working, just to recap, we need the profile system, we need requires ALiVE, we need the civilian population system module, and we need one or more civilian placement modules. Okay, so we've spawned into the game. I'm just going to have a look at my map to see what the debugging thing tells us. Okay, we can see that the placement modules has marked the locations where it's found civilian settlements. So I can see that it's found settlements over the whole map of Stratus because we haven't limited anything with Taor or blacklist markers. And we can see that the civilian population debug is actually displaying where the civilians are going to be spawned in initially. So they're all green markers at the moment. Once you actually activate a location and they spawn in, some of these will be vehicles and they will change to yellow markers, and others will be the actual people. When they initially spawn, they usually spawn inside their own houses, and these houses are the ones that they return back to in the evening to do housework, to listen to music, put on the lights, go to sleep, and things like that. So I'm just going to put on my teleport so I can jump into Gurner. So we can see they're spawned in now. You can see the yellow ones are all the vehicles, the ambient vehicles that are placed, and the green ones are the civilians. So let's have a look. Yep, so we've got a few vehicles, and they've already started to activate. So these markers will update positions as they move around, so you can keep track. And you can see when they're green, that means that they're not hostile to anyone, probably because they haven't detected you yet. But if I just increase the game timer, oh, one's going for a drive. Okay, so you can see on the map that one of the civilians has turned to red. This means that he's finished what his initial task was, and he knows that there is an enemy nearby. So there's no guarantee that he will do anything hostile towards us, but it just means that there's a higher possibility that this civilian will. Eventually all of these green ones will switch to red once they've finished doing their initial tasks. Here these civilians have gathered together for some sort of meeting. I'm not sure what they're up to. There's another group down there who are around. Looks like someone who got run over by one of the civilians. You can see this guy's running. In general, when they're on a hostile, when they've detected hostiles nearby, they'll be a little bit more agitated, so you'll see more people running around. And these guys are having a look at their dead friend. Okay, so you can see in the map now that hostility's changed on a whole bunch. So they all know that I'm in the town and that they're hostile to me. And eventually one of them might decide to either go rogue and go home and pick up some sort of weapon and try to attack me, or go home and strap on explosives and become a suicide bomber. So I've been in the town probably about 5 minutes now. Pretty much everyone is hostile to me, or they know I'm here, and there's definitely some suspicious behaviour going on. Something's going on in this house. Oh, so this guy's observing me. He'll follow me around pretty much, I think, and keep watch on me. Which can be a little bit intimidating. Someone's turned their radio on. So there's a run through of the civilian modules. These modules are early alpha, and there's probably a lot of tweaks that need to be done, and there's a lot of stuff in the future that we want to incorporate. So we'd appreciate any feedback on the forums, and yeah, let us know what you think.